Okay. Do you have any questions or anything before we get started? Do you know kind of where I'm going with this so you can kind of have in your mind?
I think I'm good. Yeah, just go.
Okay, awesome. I just have to get set up. What do I want to call it? To meeting title. Yes. To a group. I don't know why I always do this. Always wonder if it's like gonna work. I'm gonna just make this smaller. I'm not gonna move it.
Just got a notification that it's live stream, so
Okay. That means that we're live literally right now. I still have to set up properly. Hold on. Okay, there we go. What's up, everybody? I'm here getting set up. It takes me forever. I'm here with Erin. And she is a client in the Strength Method, and she is going to talk about the amazing transformations that she has made in about a second. If I can get myself set up here. Awesome. Yay. Okay, here we go. What's up, girl?
All right.
All right, let's get into it. So, Erin, you are a client with us.
Yes.
You've been with us for
it's been a year. It's been a year in April. So yes.
Like, thanks for being on top of that. That is awesome. So essentially what we're going to do here is I just wanted to talk to you and make it public like this because your story is so, I think, inspiring and kind of exactly what our entire goal is, like literally the transformation you've made, not just with your body, and we'll talk about that. And I thought it would be so helpful for others to hear kind of where you were, because a lot of people, so many freaking people are where you were, and ultimately want to get with where you are and where you're still headed. Because you're not done, right? Your journey's not done, and hopefully it ever will be. But I think it's really helpful to hear. I mean, I can go on and on and on, and Laura and Kelsey can go on and on and on, but sometimes just hearing it from a different angle, or hearing somebody regular, which I consider myself regular, but when you're in this position, sometimes people don't view you as that. Going through that and like seeing where they were, it can be inspiring, and it can cause people to take action. Even if that doesn't mean hiring somebody, it could cause somebody to take action to get to a different place in their life. And so that's kind of where I want to go with this. So I want to start off with, give us an idea of where you were a year ago before we connected in terms of your nutrition, your fitness, and your mindset.
Okay. So a year ago, I was already a year into my fitness journey. 2020 is when it started. Well, 2020 is when the gears started turning. So going through the whole pandemic and kind of getting through that first part of it, like the actual lockdown, I decided at that point that I wanted to make some changes, and that this was the perfect time to do it because the world was not going to stop at any other time in my lifetime. I knew that. So I knew this was a really good opportunity to make some changes, because I was able to drop some things that maybe I had a hard time letting go of, responsibilities, commitments, such, where everything kind of dropped off and we slowly started getting back into the motion of things. And I was able to decide, like, okay, well, you know what, I am not going to pick this specific thing back up again. So it started even a year before that. And then I started with a boot camp fitness club.
So let me ask you this, back up a sec.
Yeah.
So when you said you wanted to make some changes, why did you want to make some changes? What were the things that you were feeling, and what were kind of like the changes you wanted to make?
I was very tired. I was very burnt out. I took on a lot of responsibilities in my business and in volunteer work. I was volunteering a lot in animal rescue. I was just getting burnt out, and I think I was spreading myself too thin. And during the pandemic, I had to save all the restaurants. So I gained a good 15 pounds, in 2020, and at that point I had already, even before that, knew that I wanted to, probably drop my weight or lose some fat even before that, and then put on another, 15. I think all of us did. All of us changed in some way and or shape or form during that time. So at that point I was like, okay, this has to be nipped in the bud. Like, I have to do something. And the restaurants are going to survive. They'll be fine. They'll be fine without me.
I think maybe you did your part though, and maybe we all have you to thank. Laura laughed at that. Save all the restaurants. I don't know why I can't comment on this thing. That's awesome. Cool. So overall, it was like, I don't feel good. I've gained some weight. I need to get back on track. Next logical step is join high intensity boot camp.
Right. I really knew that I needed something to go to that started at a specific time.
And maybe we all have you to thank.
Whoops.
I clicked on it and it started speaking. Continue. I'm trying to comment back to these people and it won't let me without like starting it. Continue.
Yeah. So I found a class that started at 6 a.m. I had decided and thought about it, and I was like, I would like to go to a class that starts at a certain time, that ends at a certain time. I'm being told what to do. I don't have to think about it. I need to go before I start anything else in my day, because if I decide to go to an evening class, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. I've already gone through my exhausting day. And I think all of us who are moms and at our age, like, there's a to-do list that's never ending. Whatever you didn't finish from the day before just gets tacked on to the next day.
Totally.
So, I mean, it's never ending, and just realizing that it's never ending, you have to, I decided I wanted to work out first thing before anybody even opened their eyes in this house.
Makes total sense.
And it worked. I was able to build that habit. So am I doing boot camp classes 6 days a week anymore? No, I'm not. But I am forever thankful that it was there at that time to get me into the habit and build a foundation for me, to make exercise a priority.
Yeah, I love that, because I was going to ask you. So we just did, if you guys, by the way, good morning. Hello. I'm trying to comment and I can't. Maybe I just don't know how, without making it start to talk at me from my Facebook screen, which I don't want to do. So if you're here and you're saying hi, hello. And if you are watching, you haven't said hello, please comment below and say hi, because we love to see you. But I wanted to ask you, we did a training 2 days ago that obviously you saw. Orange Theory is keeping you stuck. And if you have not seen that yet, guys, go watch it, because it was just it was awesome. Honestly, like, Crystal had a lot of great stuff. We had a great conversation. But the class that Erin's talking about was very similar. It was a high intensity interval boot camp style. Yes, utilizing dumbbells. Yes, utilizing a quote unquote strength element, but was in essence is mostly cardio. But I want to ask you, Erin, obviously it can sound like we constantly poo-poo on stuff like this. So I wanted you to highlight some of the positives that you really got out of that, but what were you still missing after a while of doing that?
I got to a point where I plateaued very quickly. So in a year's time, I dropped 20 pounds, and I made really, really good improvements until I didn't. I started to feel really good. I have a very physical job. And then incorporating those classes, I started to feel really, really good, until I didn't. And then once those results kind of like plateaued, I started working harder, and I started, really paying attention to what I was eating, and eating less food, because obviously something wasn't working if I wasn't losing weight or looking different or feeling stronger. And I wasn't feeling any of that. So I did start incorporating a little bit of personal training at that gym. And it was very awesome introduction to everything. But yeah, I really got to the point where I was just, I was running into the ground. I was grinding myself into the ground.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I think when we met, you were doing the boot camp 6 days a week and you were eating like 1,200 calories.
That's right. That's right. You
And
know, I had no direction on how to eat. I've actually never known how to eat. I've just known like you just eat less if you need to lose weight, right?
right.
So that's what I was doing. And I am really shocked that I was eating so little and doing so much. I can't even fathom that now.
I mean, even now, to be honest, when we have these conversations about like, because you're a dog groomer, so you stand still, but you're standing all the time and moving, but your step counter doesn't necessarily pick up that movement. So you and I have these conversations because you're like, I want to get 10K steps. I feel like I should be, but when I push that step counter to get the 10K steps, I am exhausted. But that's like, when you think about what you were doing before, it's just funny. Like, I can't get 10K steps, but you're doing so much because you're standing and on your feet all the time.
Yeah. So I think a big part of the program, and the journey I've taken with you is I have, for the first time in my life, started to listen to my body. I've always ignored it. So like when I was doing that 6 days a week and I was exhausted and I was hungry and I just wanted to look better, I wanted to feel better. So I just kept going. I wasn't listening at all. I was exhausted.
Yeah.
So this is the first time where I'm able to be very honest with myself, listen to my body, and then respond accordingly.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I was like, I've never actually stopped to think and then react upon, how am I really feeling?
Mm-hmm.
And what do I think my body is telling me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That was huge, huge, huge.
And it seems so silly. It seems so simple, but just like so many of us are going through those motions.
I think most of us just ignore and just do what we got to do.
Yeah, it's true. Especially when you're a mom and a spouse or a partner and you're doing all the things. It's in our wiring a lot of the times to think about everybody else and making sure they're good.
Right. Yes. And I work in a career where, it's a very compassionate people in the industry I work in dog grooming. A lot of them work in animal rescue, or, they're very compassionate. And I think in any of those types of service jobs, and I can name a few others, but like, you're so compassionate in your work constantly that you lose self-compassion completely. Like it's really on the back burner and it's forgotten.
It's like that whole cup analogy. You can't fill others until you've filled your own, kind of thing.
Yes. Yes.
Cool. Well, let's kind of go back. So inception of you and I meeting. You're one of our, I'll be honest, like one of our favorite types of clients. Cause when you came to us, I remember you saying, I use these dumbbells in this boot camp. I really like the idea of lifting weights. I want to be able to lift the barbell and know what I'm doing and doing it safely. And you really were interested in making that transition. And that's something that we specialize in. We specialize in getting women in particular comfortable transitioning from dumbbells to using barbells safely, confidently, and just ultimately building on that skill so they can deadlift and feel like a badass, squat and actually feel like they are using a barbell and they aren't going to fall over. And we love doing it. That's where we get our fire from. I would say Laura, Kelsey, and I can all agree that that is one of the most rewarding experiences of our job. So when we have somebody that literally says that, like, I go in there, I kind of dick around, I don't really know what I'm doing, I want to do that. And we're like, let's go. And so that was the coolest thing. And I love some of your videos too, because we go from the very beginning when we're making sure you're hinging properly using dumbbells, because we're not going to transition you to the barbell until we're making sure that's down. But then you made, I think, that TikTok or the Instagram video where you were just like pounding out some deadlifts to some awesome beat with the barbell and the plates. And it's just like so badass. And it's just like so rewarding. Anyway, I'm getting off track a little bit, but the point is that give me an idea of kind of but I wanted to say before that, before we even kind of really got knee deep into all of that, the first thing we did was have a real conversation about like totally respect. And you're a super social person. So part of the reason for wanting that bootcamp class was you were meeting people, you were having connections and relationships, and you loved knowing that people were there waiting for you and the camaraderie behind all that. And you told me, you're like, I'm not gonna stop. So if we can make this work with me not stopping, but it was kind of like, we can totally do that, but we're gonna need to prioritize and blend, because you can't do everything that you're doing and then go start strength training with a barbell and expect to see results. So I know we need to increase food. I know we need to decrease your activity in order to see results. And the coolest thing about you was that you were just like totally trusting of that process, which that is one barrier that we a lot of times have with people. People are like, even if they say they trust the process, their mind is messing them up. You didn't allow that to happen. I'm sure you had it in your mind. I'm sure you had it in your mind, like, how the heck is this going to work? But you did it anyway. I think the first thing we did was bring your calories up to like 2,000 from 1,200. And I think we started doing your boot camp maybe only 2 or 3 days a week with a 3-day week full body. You are now still doing only 3 days a week full body training, 1 day a week of the boot camp class. But talk to me a little bit about kind of what changes you made in the past year, like those kinds of shifts, like the mindset that you had kind of going into the 6 days a week boot camp, and kind of more of the mindset shifts that you've had along in the last year.
I think it's a classic case of meeting yourself where you are, honestly. I mean, yes, I went from 6 days a week. I didn't want to stop because of all of the fun I was having. I had a great time and I made a lot of friends, and some of those friends are clients of mine now. So like it's a real community of people. It's not just a bunch of people that work out together. They're awesome. Love them. They're like some of my best friends now. So I think it's just a classic case of meeting yourself where you are. I went and then I wanted to do the strength training. Well, I have to dedicate some time to that. Like, if I want to do it, I have to practice. So of course I had to cut that down from 6 days a week. And then I was going 3 days a week. Got to the point, or I think I was doing it 2 days a week. It was either 2 or 3. Regardless, I cut it down. And even then, after doing that for, I don't know, maybe did it for 4 to 6 months, we'll say, I don't know. That was still too much. And that was me, like I said, listening, like, okay, well, I'm paying and I'm putting my effort into learning these strength training exercises, lifts, etc. So that's where I'm going to put my focus towards. So I dropped it even more. And that's when things started to feel really amazing.
Tell me more about that. What in particular felt good?
Just energy, just feeling good, being in a good mood, excited to go and learn more and get stronger. And then going to those, and I think I just mentioned this to you the other day, but going to those once a week boot camp classes, I noticed that I started doing things that I had not been able to do a year ago when I was going 6 days a week. So right there, it proves to me that my strength has definitely changed, and I've built more strength over the last year. And you really have to just look at, like, it's proof. Like, yeah, that's what it is. Like, I can see why, and I can see the changes, and I understand why. So
well, you were telling me too that you sweat less. You only go once a week, but you sweat less.
It doesn't wind me as much. I can lift more things. And of course the workouts change every day. And in doing programs for strength training through the strength method, I'm doing a program for 6 weeks at a time, and I can see myself progressing. You really can't see when you're doing a different workout every day.
Thank you for saying that.
You have no idea.
Louder for the people in the back.
you really have no idea. So
Yeah. Until you go like a year later and you're doing it one day a week. And what were those things you said? They were like ball up
they're
or
like
something?
ball ups. So you start out from the ground and roll up. And then they had a medicine ball thing in it. But I've never been able to. I could have probably pushed myself to do them, but they always hurt my knees. And that was another thing. Like I had swollen knees all the time. I think I was just doing too much high impact stuff.
Yeah.
And it was hurting. It was hurting me. But as a dog groomer, like my whole career has been painful. I'm just used to it.
Kind of sad. My whole career's painful.
You're bending over dogs and you're manipulating them in ways they don't necessarily want to be in. And it's hard work. So if you guys have dog groomers, give them a nice big tip at the end of the year.
Awesome. So two more questions. The first, I'm going to ask you to tell your story about going into that new gym at the end of this. When they measured your body fat.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't it a new gym?
It's the gym that I joined. This gym. This is a new gym that I joined just to get like the squat racks and stuff for our current programs.
Cool. So yeah, but before that, if you can give us an overall highlight of your biggest wins in the last year, clearly utilizing like this program, like the strength method, what have been some of your biggest wins?
I would say what's been probably one of my, other than just being stronger and noticing it, also picking up doing barbell work is just super badass. Like it looks cool and I feel cool doing it. So that it's just a lot of fun. But as far as like changes I've seen in myself, in my body, I've probably only lost, I don't know, 2-3 pounds in a year. And that goes up and down. But the photographs, wow, like the comparisons are night and day. So I've had a lot of people comment and compliment me on how great I look. Oh, you've lost so much weight. And I'm like, I really haven't actually. I've lost no weight. So that's been very cool to in real time understand that weight loss and fat loss are two different things.
Yes. I'm looking for that photo that you just sent me recently. There we go. Let's see if we can just load it up to the screen so I don't have to do anything fancy.
That's 1 year. Yeah, that's 1 year. So that's February. The first one is February before I met you.
Yeah.
And then the other one is probably that's February too. So that's maybe about a month ago.
Yep. Yeah, that's crazy. It's always crazy to me when that happens. And that's probably the ideal, because I remember when we started increasing your calories, your weight never really changed, but that's kind of what we want to see generally. That's actually our favorite thing we want to see, because what that tells us, and there's sometimes a couple pounds up because of water retention and stuff, but that usually stops very quickly. But what that tells us is your metabolism is very quickly adapting and using all of that fuel to fuel all of what you're doing and all of your efforts in the gym. And that is one of the coolest things to see, because if we can kind of repair that, or I will not say repair, because it was never that it was broken, but optimize it. If we can really kind of optimize your body and your metabolism, that's one of the best things you can do. Even if you go nowhere else after that, if you literally that's what we normally should be doing most of the time, is we should be spending most of the year in this, optimal, zone for metabolism and strength and health and wellness. Right. And so even if you go nowhere else other than that, most people can never even get to that point. Most people can never even get to the point where they are really in an optimal zone. It's constantly dieting, constantly trying to keep calories low. They think they bring them up. I talk to so many people that are like, oh, 1,700 calories, that's so much. It's like, no, it's not. That could actually be a deficit for you if you focused on optimizing and laying this strong foundation. But instead, we constantly live in this fearful zone. And I feel like you were really able to bust out of that fearful zone. And like, again, if you did nothing else, that would be like a huge win in itself.
Yeah. I think I came into this program wanting to learn something new, and I did. And my goal when we started and talked about the pandemic, my goal at that point in 2020, when I was making all of these changes and deciding that I was done doing some of the things I was done doing, balance, and balance comes back over and over again. Because I didn't work this hard to then go to the other side of the spectrum. I'll never be a bodybuilder. I'll never be, I'll never get, I want to stay in the middle.
Yeah.
Happy medium. I want to be healthy. I want to feel good. And I want to feel, I don't want to be starving. I just want to feel good. That's all I want to do. And I want to feel good and I want to look good. And I do have a goal. I had a goal when I first started losing weight, is like, I want to walk into a store and I want to pick something off the rack without ever having to try it on in the dressing room. I used to be able to do that when I was younger. And I know that it's not good to compare yourself with, your college self or your high school self, but that was cool. I loved being able, I like that shirt, and grab it and go buy it and come home and put it on and be like, all right, cool. It got to a point where you have to like try every single thing on before I would even make the purchase. So
yeah, I love that. That's awesome. This is totally different, but that's how I feel about weather. Like, I want to live somewhere where I never have to take a jacket if it's the middle of the night. I want it to never get cold enough that the middle of the night I need a jacket. Like, that's just like I don't know. That's my rule. I don't care.
It feels like it'll be really hot during the day though.
It would be really hot during the day, but I will take it if I don't have to think about needing a jacket in the middle of the night, which, like, let's be real, I am never out in the middle of the night anymore. I made this rule when I was somebody who spent time out of my house in the middle of the night awake. I no longer do that. But that's always been like my rule for life. If it's not cold in the middle of the night, then I'm good. I can live here. Florida is so wonderful, Jenny said. Some people would say the opposite. Some people say Florida is horrible. It's like a swamp, just walking into a swamp. But people say that about San Antonio too. So I love San Antonio weather.
I like being warm, but I don't want to be too hot. So my idea is to be a snowbird. I would like to be a snowbird.
I went to Denver a couple weeks ago, and it was like living out my dream. My mom is the opposite of me, and she's always like, but aren't you going to miss the snow? From Maryland? Aren't you going to miss? I'm like, no. And who misses that? I'll fly to it if I miss it. And she lives in Denver now, and she has snow. And I flew to her. I was like, see, I'm flying to the snow and I love it. Now I can't wait to leave it.
Right. Exactly.
Awesome. So to wrap this up, tell it your story. I'm not even going to try to summarize it. Just about how you went back to your gym to get a body fat scan, and you were really looking forward to seeing, apparently I'm summarizing, you were really looking forward to seeing the difference in your body fat from a year ago, and you were disappointed at the result.
So the gym that I work out and do my strength training at, I joined when it first opened. So January, right before I met you, a couple 3-4 months before. With your membership, they offer you a body scan, kind of standard stuff. They try to sell you personal training at that point. That's just kind of how it goes at a gym. Like, I think everybody's probably gone through that in some way, shape, or form. So did the body scan, and it was interesting to see the numbers. I had never gotten a body scan before. So I kind of hung on to the paper, and I was like, well, I don't know, I put it to the side, whatever. At that point, I had signed on with you, whatever. And so then when I re-signed my contract to get a lower rate at the gym to continue working out there, they offered me a lower rate. I re-signed. They offered me another body scan. And I was like, well, yeah, sure. That sounds like that would be cool to just see what the differences are, because I know I've made a ton of progress in the last year. So that would be super cool. So I went, and honestly, the two comparisons were exactly the same. So whether that machine is not calibrated correctly, or if it was just kind of a bullshit reading for whatever reason, like, I laughed because I said, there's no possible way that I haven't lost fat, that I haven't, like, look at these pictures, like, there's no way. So whatever, was wrong with the machine, I don't know. But at that point, I was also, again, approached for personal training based on what my results were. And I just, knowing what I know now, I was very, very nice to the woman and listened to what she had to say, but knew, felt good and felt proud that I knew better, because I was approached with, personal training based on my results that I needed to improve on certain numbers of weight loss and fat and building muscle. And I wasn't really asked if my goal was to lose weight, but I was told that 30-pound weight loss would be where I would want to be, and that she could help me get there.
Which is crazy considering your body too, like 30 pounds.
I mean, and I've gotten that a lot just because I'm only 5'1", so I'm a short person. So if you're looking at like BMI and all of that, yeah, I think, I don't know, I'm supposed to be like 115 pounds if you look at like that. I'm never going to be 115 pounds, and I would probably look sick if I was. So yeah, I thought it was funny, and I came home and I was like, wow, like, I felt really proud about how far I've come in my mindset, because had I gone in there and gone through that same process, we'll say 3 years ago, had she told me I needed to lose 30 pounds, I would have fully believed I needed to lose 30 pounds and figured out, a plan to do it. But I have no intentions of losing 30 pounds. I don't need to lose 30 pounds, and 30 pounds is not my goal. And the funny thing is, she never asked me.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most infuriating things. And I think the other thing I took away from that was, I think you said, like, thank goodness I have those pictures.
Yes.
Right? Because there's a couple things going on. Obviously you lost fat, obviously you gained muscle. That's why your pictures look different. Obviously you lost body fat, but the machine, because I asked you all these questions about the machine, that was one of those ones you held out here.
Yes.
There's a lot of people out there that say that those are fairly inaccurate in general, but they're accurate in determining change. So if it says you're, I don't know, 50% body fat, and then it says later that you're 48% body fat, you can reasonably assume you've lost 2%, even if your starting numbers were never 5 or 48, that it's more accurate in determining trends. I even think that's bullshit, because when I am on my game and training hard, if I gain weight on my scale, which is the same thing as holding it out, it's the little electronic things that are supposed to shoot through your body, my body fat always goes up relative to my weight. It is never different on those scales. And I am just very sure, and based on stories like yours and other clients, I think those things are bullshit. I have another client, worked her ass off, has been killing it. Her form is unbelievable, and her strength gains are unbelievable. She went from doing like 0 chin-ups to like repping out 7. And then she's like, I'm disappointed. My body fat shows that I haven't lost any body fat and I haven't gained any muscle. Like, there's no difference. I'm like, there's difference. Okay. Those things are BS. So unless you're going into one of those bod pod things or underwater, which is the most realistic one, I don't even know if there's a lot of value. I think it's interesting to see those numbers, but it frustrates me how much people rely on them. And I will tell you that, like, taking DEXA scans or calipers, is the DEXA scan, are those the ones? No, the DEXA scan, which one is the DEXA scan? Now I gotta Google it. The calipers can be a little bit more telling, because you're actually looking at thickness. So I actually prefer calipers to like some of these electromagnetic ones. What are the DEXA scans?
What's the caliber one? Is that where it's like the actual
It pinches you.
Yeah. Okay.
I actually prefer those to the DEXA scan. Oh yeah, Jennifer, the DEXA scan, those are the most accurate ones. Well, the most accurate is if you're dead and they, dissect you. That is the 100% most accurate. The second to that is the water, and I would say, or the DEXA. The third to that I would say is the bod pod. This is like a machine that you can get inside, and it's the same kind of idea as the electrode, but they use so many other things. There's a pressure system. There's like other things that go on inside there. But just these little electro things that are supposed to go through your hands or go through your feet and be able to give all of that data. I have consistently had anecdotal evidence tell me that those are bullshit. So, DEXA is the 3D body. Maybe. I don't know, guys. I apparently don't know the names of all of these things. The water one is the most accurate other than being dead and having an autopsy. And the bod pod is the third most accurate. And then the calipers, I actually trust more than those electromagnetic, but the pictures and maybe calipers, but definitely taking inches. But a lot of times, yeah, super expensive. And a lot of people don't have access. The only reason I even had access to the bod pods in the past was because we're associated with military bases. Cause my husband works for the government. We were like living overseas. You get free access. Otherwise it's like $100 just to go in at once. So most of these kinds of these kinds of things are pretty much pointless. Like body fat, I would love to know it. It gives us kind of a good idea. We can make an estimate based on how you look, but they are not the most accurate, or the ones that are accurate are not very accessible. And so taking inches, taking measurements, taking photos, the biofeedback of how do your clothes feel, how do you feel, those are way more. And so to any clients out there or people in general that are just so scared to take pictures, just effing do it. I know it sucks. The goal is not to evaluate yourself and feel like crap. I get so many people that are like, I'm disgusting. Like I took these photos and I'm disgusting. Like if you need to take them and submit them without even looking at them, do it. The goal is to tell more of a story. And so that's one of the biggest things I took away from that, is because if it wasn't for that, you might think you'd made no progress.
Right. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Erin. I think we've about covered it. You are inspirational and you are still, what are your goals now?
Well, I want to continue doing what I'm doing. I love strength training now. I barely sweat, and that's like so cool. That's the best part of strength training. Like, yeah, I break a little sweat, but like I'm not soaked, and that's awesome. So like going to work out is not fun. So yeah, just continue to strength train and I mean, just kind of plug right along. My ultimate goal was really just to feel good in my job and like be able to do what I'm doing for a really long time. So I plan on incorporating this like forever.
Yeah.
I want to be a 65-year-old person that can do things. I want to be a 70-year-old that can do things. So really my goal is just to make sure that I age gracefully and healthfully, and that's that.
Laurie said, loved hearing your story. I've noticed less sweating and being stronger at my jazzercise class too, but I sweat a lot lifting heavy weight. It depends on some people are just natural sweaters, so that's a genetic thing. It also depends on obviously the temperature of the room that you're lifting in, the body heat that's in there. There's a lot that affect like how much you
Right. Different days.
Yeah.
I will sweat, but like I'm like, oh hey, I don't look like I just like died and came back to life. You know what I mean? Like, and then I'll get like these hairs that come out and I look like Krusty the Clown. They'll just come out and I'll be all frizzy. So no, that doesn't happen anymore. And I'm like, oh hey, I look pretty good.
Well, I mean, I think the takeaway from that is that, and I don't know if you ever thought this way before, but how much you sweat is not an indicator of how good or effective your workout was.
No, not at all.
It's really not. And the same way that, this sounds weird when I say it out loud, but I know y'all identify with this. Being hungry is not a sign that you are on track and losing weight. And being full is not a sign that you are like fat or that you're gaining weight or any of that. And I think I still subconsciously associate those feelings. Like it's so weird for me right now. I've been traveling, and whenever I'm so off track that it hurts my brain, I'm forced to rely on like what I intuitively know. You know, I'm trying every time I grab food, I'm thinking protein. I need a source of protein. I need a source of fiber. I've been eating like Dave's, 3 grams of fiber toast with like cheese sticks. Cause I'm like fiber, protein. I'm like trying desperately, but I find myself reverting to these things that I used to do before I took control. And me taking control is like strength training and focusing on the number on the barbell, actually tracking macros so I can get a better understanding of education, not relying on it, but understanding what's going into my body and the proportions I need it. But when I'm that's all out the window, I'm starting to go back to these thoughts of like, oh, I'm a little hungry. I must be fine. Oh my God, I'm full. Shit. And I'm like, what the heck? And it's like, it's so interesting to see how these like things start to manifest. I'm not working out. And I'm finding myself lazier and tireder by the day. Going downstairs to walk on my dad's treadmill feels more and more like a chore. Where at home, I get 15K steps easily. I have energy. I'm doing these things. And it's just really wild to see those slow transitions happening. So I think it's really important to take control overall. And like, I like the phrase, like being the CEO of your own health and your own wellness and your nutrition and your own body. And how important that is, and getting it right. Because this idea of like sweating is a good workout is just getting out of that hamster wheel of these incorrect things that we have just practiced for so long and have gotten so good at that it feels second nature, and like deciding to draw the line in the sand and be like, I'm not doing that anymore.
It's ingrained in the culture.
Totally.
It's just there. It's there.
Totally, totally. You were telling another quick story before I let you go, but your daughter's in Girl Scouts. I think she's 10, 11, 10.
She's 10.
And she's selling Girl Scout cookies. You guys are killing it, and she's, killing it. But you're hearing moms come up and their single comment of like, oh, can't buy too many of those because, it goes right to the hips. Like that person is making one seemingly innocent comment, but in the eyes of you and specifically your daughter, these girls are hearing this over and over. And it's this like almost subliminal message that is constantly out there.
Right. One comment from each customer. That's a lot, Yeah, for sure. It's been something to think about. Like, wow. Okay. All right. But thankfully our Girl Scout leader is a dietitian. So she's got it. They're in good hands.
Yeah. Not everybody is, Awesome. Erin, well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for everything.
Yeah. Well, we love you. Are we going to see you in 15 minutes for the client support call?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, awesome.
I'm here.
All right, bye guys. You have any questions, comments, anything, leave it below, and we'll chat soon.